At the break of dawn, when the sky was painted in shades of muted lavender, and soft gold the winds whispered gently across the high mountains, surrounding an ancient monastery that had stood for centuries untouched by time and unbothered by the noise of the outside world. Inside its stone walls, monks moved with silent purpose, beginning their day with reflection and serenity. Among them, a young disciple named Ryen hastily made his way across the courtyard, clutching a worn leather notebook pressed tightly against his chest. His eyes burned with ambition, not peace. His footsteps were fast where others moved slowly. Today was his first day being personally mentored by Master Zenji, the most respected monk of the temple. A man known for giving few answers, but asking the right questions. Ryen believed he was ready to prove that he had absorbed knowledge from dozens of scrolls, that he had practiced hundreds of meditation hours, that he was worthy of becoming one of the monastery's most promising minds. He pushed open the sliding wooden door to the meditation hall with more force than intention. Bowing hastily, inside, Master Zenji was seated alone near a low table, pouring hot water into a small clay teapot. Without lifting his gaze, the monk spoke calmly. "Sit, speak only what is necessary." But Ryen was already speaking before the old monk finished. He listed the texts he had read, the doctrines he had memorized, the meditation postures he mastered, quoting wise words with near-perfect accuracy. His voice echoed slightly against the old stone walls, swelling with pride. Zenji said nothing. He simply poured tea into a tiny porcelain cup before them. When Ryen finally paused to breathe, he waited eagerly for approval. Instead, the monk lifted the teapot again and began pouring tea into Ryen's cup. It filled steadily and continued and continued. Ryen furrowed his brow. The tea reached the brim, but Master Zenji did not stop. The liquid spilled over the edges and splashed onto the table, then onto Ryen's notebook, soaking the pages where he had written his studies. Shocked, he cried out, "Master, it is overflowing. Nothing more can fit." Zenji finally stopped, placing the pot down gently. He looked directly into Ryen's eyes and said in a quiet, unshaken voice, "Exactly like this cup. Your mind is too full of what you believe you know. Nothing new can enter." Ryen's heartbeat quickened. His pride cracked like thin ice. He lowered his gaze, tightening his grip on the soaked notebook. "Then, how do I empty my mind?" Zenji stood and walked toward the courtyard, motioning for Ryen to follow. The morning light now shimmered through bamboo leaves as they stood beside an old stone fountain. The monk picked up a fallen leaf, placed it gently on the surface of the water, and watched it float. "When you hold knowledge as certainty, it weighs you down," he said. "But when you hold it lightly, like this leaf, it can move with the flow. Wisdom does not rive where ego resides. To learn, unlearn, to grow, let go." That day, everything changed. Ryen remained silent for hours, sitting beneath an ancient tree, listening not just to the wind but to himself. His thoughts, usually loud and analytical, became whispers. For the first time, he questioned not the teachings, but his hunger to be seen as one who already understood. Days passed differently. Before, he woke to chase answers. Now, he woke to observe without judgment. Instead of reciting teachings, he listened to the sound of rain on the temple roof. He swept the courtyard slowly, paying attention to every movement. One morning, he sat with a group of monks who were meditating by the river. They spoke only after long silences. One monk said, "Knowledge can open doors, but wisdom teaches you which ones to enter." Another added, "A full cup can spill with the slightest shake. An empty one can receive the rain." Ryen absorbed their words silently. He no longer wrote in his notebook. He no longer felt the need to prove anything. On the 7th day, he returned to Master Zenji. The old monk sat in the tea room again, just as before. Without a word, he picked up a teapot and began pouring tea into 2 cups. Ryen watched carefully. When his cup was nearly full, but not overflowing, he raised his hand gently and said softly, "Master, it is enough." Zenji looked up for a moment, then nodded with his subtle smile that carried years of unspoken understanding. Empty does not mean lacking. It means ready. Ryen bowed deeply, not out of discipline, but gratitude. That evening, as the sun descended behind the mountains, painting the sky in amber and crimson, he walked alone across the stone pathway of the monastery. No notebook in hand, no rush in his step. His breathing was slow. His steps were gentle. For the first time, silence felt like companionship, not emptiness. He noticed the sound of birds preparing for night, the rustling of bamboo in the breeze. And somewhere within, a soft voice whispered, "I do not need to know everything to be at peace." The narrator's voice echoes softly as dusk settles. Many seek knowledge as if it were treasure to be hoarded. But wisdom is not weight to carry. It is space to welcome. Those who approach life with answers repel the truth. Those who approach with questions invite it. In the final scene, Ryen sits beneath a cherry blossom tree as petals fall gently round him. He closes his eyes in meditation, no strain on his brow, no ambition in his heart, only acceptance. A single leaf from the same tree falls beside him, landing softly on the ground, unmoved by wind. The final phrase appears slowly on screen. When the cup becomes empty, the soul becomes full. A quiet pause follows before the closing line is spoken gently. Do not fear the emptiness, it is where wisdom begins.